Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to discuss the lunar nodes in Aries and Libra, the shift from Taurus and Scorpio. Now, as of July 17th, 2023, they just entered Aries and Libra. However, this video is going to be done in two parts. The first part is going to be going through the axes. And then the second part is if the lunar eclipse has any aspects to your different planets, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, etc. All right, because for example, if you have planets in Aries and Libra, then the eclipses are going to fall on your planets. But for people that have, for example, planets in Capricorn and Cancer, they're going to be squared. So the aspects of the eclipses, affect everybody, right? But it's a little different if you have planets in other signs. So this video is going to be a bit longer, or actually much longer than what I usually do, but it's because I want to give you a lot of information that can, to try to help you guys manage this. So, I want to start by saying that the lunar nodes are not planets. They are points where the lunar and the sun, the eclipses, the ecliptic, the cycles they cross, those are the lunar nodes. So there are no planets that are lunar nodes. They travel backwards in the zodiac. So now that they shifted to Aries and Libra, they start at, Aries 29 degrees, 28, 27, until they get to, Aries at 1 degree, 0 degree. Then it starts in Pisces at, 29 degrees, 28. So they travel backwards in the zodiac. Now the eclipses mostly affect Cancer rising and Leo rising. Why? Because Cancer is ruled by the moon and Leo is ruled by the sun. However, eclipses affect all of us, but they mostly affect these two rising signs. New moon, solar eclipses. They are a time of new beginnings, things to initiate. Um, your vitality goes up, it's renewed energy. The full moon lunar eclipses is always a time when issues, problems, projects that you had are resolved, finalized. For example, maybe you started a new project at work when the new moon was in Capricorn. When the full moon sets in Capricorn, then maybe it's the completion of that project. So I wanted to share with you where I get the information for the lunar eclipses or any eclipses. I mean, just not the lunar. It's the website AstroSeek, which I've used this, right? So you usually land on this page, but then in the lunar phase, you go here and you choose eclipses, solar and lunar for 2023, but it has everything 24, 25, 26. I mean, you can go ahead and check and see where the eclipses are going to be way ahead of time. So this is set up for you. Um, for everybody, not just you. But anyhow, I do want to start, and I am not a mundane astrologer by any stretch of the imagination. I do natal charts, but there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention as far as the mundane stuff, because the eclipses are falling on the Aries Libra, right? Aries Libra, if you have a natural natal chart, it's on the first and seventh house, right? But Aries is a sign of war, because it's ruled by Mars. So, um, there's no easy way to say this. In the next 18 months, the the situation with the war is going to escalate. And I'm not talking about the Ukraine-Russia thing because China is ruled by Libra. So I anticipate that over the next 18 months, the China is going to invade Taiwan and things can escalate big time. So, it's going to be a very tense situation. I do plan to do another video with kind of like what I see coming up over the next maybe 2, 3, 4 years so that you guys can start preparing. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but it's just so that you are aware of at least the possibilities that I see, you know. Hopefully the war doesn't break out, but chances are that they will because there are other aspects with Uranus and stuff like that that, we'll discuss in another video. But let's switch to the positive side of this Aries North Node and Libra South Node. Most likely there will be more people embarking on a sole proprietorship. They want to be in business for themselves. That's Aries. And also, it's a great time for everybody to start a new exercise routine. Go to the gym, start a new workout. Obviously, consult your doctor on your activity level because if you haven't done any exercises in years, then maybe you start walking. And then you can start little by little implementing. I'm following my own advice. I started yoga because I hadn't done yoga in 4 years. I started yoga, I started Tai Chi and walking. So Aries rules muscles. It rules physical activity. It rules sports. So to me, the best bodies are the ones Aries. Aries men are well defined muscles. Um, of course, I'm talking about natural stuff. Not if anybody takes steroids, well, that's a different story, right? But um, it's a great time for everybody. If you want to find muscle tones in your body, this is the time to do it, regardless of your zodiac sign. So let me start by, giving you what Aries stands for, right? Aries is independent, brave, assertive, courageous, a pioneer. They stand up for themselves. They're not pushovers. They're competitive. It's usually a happy sign, like they don't hold grudges, but they're always in a rush. They initiate things because they take action, Mars. But it's also about weapons, war, arguments, soldiers, Aries are the soldiers of the zodiac. On the other hand, on the flip side of things, we have Libra, and Libra is all about relationship. It rules marriage. Um, Libras are people pleasing, having a lot of consideration for others, even to their own detriment. They go through endless debates about what to do and how to do it and what's the right thing to do. Am I going to hurt this person's feelings? I don't want to I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, etc. They are codependent. They do everything for their partner. Um, a lot of times they give up on their own goals and dreams for the sake of having a relationship. So for Libra, you got to look a little bit more into the Aries side, be a little bit more selfish, and put your dreams and your goals first. And Aries has to look for the qualities that Libra has, which is all about balance, harmony, diplomacy, negotiation, right? Um, Libras need to take action. Aries needs to slow down a little bit because sometimes, especially when with Aries, they speak before they think. So they come off as being blunt. Whereas Libra is very diplomatic. They think about, oh, if I say this or if I say that, how's this person gonna feel, etc. So let's talk about the first part of the video, which is, like I said, through the axes, which is the houses. And then the second part of the video is going to be the lunar eclipses affecting, like I said, your planets, right? The different planets. So the Aries Libra axis is all about relationships. So what does it mean? If you're in Aries, you might meet a new fated partner because the lunar nodes are one of the karmic points that are in the chart. You can have changes to your fitness program, right? Especially you, Aries risings, even Aries suns. You can enhance your appearance by working out. You can start a diet, losing weight. You can have new enthusiasm. You have new interests, stuff that you want to initiate. Now, on the Libra side, um, this can mean breakups, divorce, separation. Um, if you do, break up when there is an eclipse in Libra, consider that a final thing. Eclipses, the decisions are finals, and you don't go back. There's no reconciliation. I have yet to see anybody going back to an ex after an eclipse breakup. I haven't seen it. So because it's the seventh house, there might be changes in your second born child. Because remember, the seventh house rules the second born child, the fifth rules the first one, and the ninth rules the third born child. Doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen to your kid. Don't get me wrong. Maybe it's a new stage in their life. Maybe they go off to college, or maybe they buy a car, or maybe they start the workforce, etc. So doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. All right, so before I continue, I just want you guys to see the dates of the eclipses so you can go here and just look. All right. So again, it's astro-seek.com and the moon calendar. So if the eclipses fall on your second and eighth house, so that would mean that you are a Pisces rising, right? So your second house is Aries and your eighth house is Libra. You might get a new source of income, like a new job or an additional job. You can also lose your job and obviously lose money because it's the second house. You can buy an asset, property, jewelry, something of value. If you're looking, the second and eighth house is my money and my partner's money, my spouse's money. So you're looking at your financial security or insecurity when it comes to money and assets, things that you possess, right? So eighth house, other people's money. Be careful with your investments at this time, especially any, get rich schemes. You're reevaluating investments. You may receive a financial gift, a commission, because the eighth house is anything that comes to you in a lump sum, an insurance payout, a divorce settlement, an inheritance. Being that the eighth house is the house of death, maybe people around you may be dying as well. Doesn't mean that you're going to die, but there could be death around you. Or you can start investigating eighth house stuff like metaphysics, psychology, something that the deep secrets of life, right? Like things that you're curious about. The third and ninth house axes, that is, third house is learning, and ninth house are your beliefs. So, what does that mean? You can take up new studies. You can go on short trips. You can have extensive car repairs, unfortunately. Uh, you can initiate or communication comes up with the extended family, right? Your brothers, your sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles. If it's a full moon eclipse, then it's the completion of a project, the end of a trip kind of stuff. For the ninth house means that you start studying spirituality because the ninth house is all about your beliefs, like your religion. Maybe you start Bible study, you start yoga, you start the university, right? You plan a long distance trip, but if you go on a trip, keep a margin of 2 weeks on either side of the eclipse. It's not good to travel within 2 weeks of the upcoming eclipse or 2 weeks after. So you can gauge it, um, as a cushion. If it's a full moon eclipse, then it's the conclusion of a long distance travel or a legal case, or if it's in bad aspects, you can drop out of school, which is, you know, hopefully that won't happen, but I'm just saying those are the possibilities. In the fourth and 10th house, which is, the MC and the IC, that means your home, the fourth house, and the 10th house is the career or the authoritative parent, right? Eclipses in the fourth house. You can buy a home, you can move, sell your house, because it's Mars, right? Because the North Node is in Aries and it's ruled by Mars, there could be an accident at home. So make sure that, like, your computer cables, any type of wiring, anything that you can trip or follow, whatever, make sure that your house, that the aisles or whatever, the hallway is clear and you can't, you don't stumble across something that can cause a fall. Also fire, because Mars rules fire. So be careful with your stove. Make sure you turn off you know, when you're cooking. Um, Unfortunately, if your parents are sick or in bad, like bad health, or they're very old, when eclipses happen, they can either fall, they can have an accident or they can pass. So just, so you know. If it's in the 10th house, you can start a new business. Um, your authoritative parent, let me turn on the light here because there's a storm getting ready to happen. Yeah, sorry. It's getting ready to storm here in Miami. So, as I was saying, in the 10th house, you can start a new business, you can start a new job. Um, your authoritative parent, if sick, very sick or very old, again, they can have an accident by a fall, or they may pass as well. You might have a new boss come in, that is usually older than you, because the 10th house is the natural ruler of the 10th house is Saturn. And anytime there's a change in bosses with an eclipse in the 10th house, is usually somebody that's older than you. But it can also mean that you could have a change of status. Might be that you're getting married, because a lot of times when people get married, the MC is activated, or you may have a baby. That's another thing, because again, the status changes, right? You were married and now you're a mom. right? Or a dad. So on the 5th and the 11th house axes, fifth house is the love we give, right? The boyfriend, girlfriend, our children, our creative projects, things that basically we fall in love with, right? And then the 11th house is the house where love is received, which is usually from our friends. Um, Fifth house, careful with your firstborn child. There will be changes to that child's life. Again, it doesn't have to be bad. It could be that they're starting pre-K. It could be that they're getting married or leaving for college. There are changes in that firstborn child's life. Otherwise, putting the kids aside, it's a time where you want to have fun. You want to be playful. You want to be youthful again. You want to go on vacation, on holidays. You want to enjoy life more. Maybe a new romance comes into your life. Or you can have like new creative projects that you want to do, new hobbies that you want to take up as well. So if it's the 11th house, this is a great time to join groups, new associations, new organizations where you have like common interests. New friends come in. You can also lose some friends because they leave, they move out of your city or vicinity. Your social life is very active. You can set new goals, have new dreams, right? Hopes and dreams are the 11th house. The 6th and 12th house axis is service. Sixth house is the service that you provide for other people. And the 12th house are usually the sacrifices that we need to make. And it's also the house of karma. So in the sixth house area, you can start a new health regimen. You can start a, gym and exercise program, eat healthier, improve your personal habits. You can see your doctor, or you can do like a major house cleaning, office cleaning. You just start throwing stuff away, old files, papers. You can hire a new employee, or you might lose employees if you're a business owner. You might gain new coworkers, or coworkers may leave. You may decide to get a new pet because sixth house rules pets, or maybe a pet can get ill or die. If it's the 12th house, it's all the spiritual realm. So maybe some secrets are revealed. You can have hidden psychological issues come up, right? That haven't surfaced in a very long time. You can have a karmic relationship show up, romantic or otherwise, right? Um, you might want to spend more time alone for reflection, meditation. It's also the house of secret love affairs as well, just so you all know. All right, so those are the eclipses through your houses. Now, part 2 of this video is the eclipses that will aspect one of your natal planets. And the only aspects I am going to be talking about are the Ptolemy aspects. And Ptolemy is Ptolemy, if you guys want to look it up. So it's the sextile and trine, conjunction, square, and opposition. Sextile and trine, sextile, there's an opportunity, but it requires action. Trine is, the energy flows easily. And conjunction, it depends on the conjunction, right? Because if you have conjunction Mars or Saturn, it may not be so good. The square is always a challenge, something that you have to overcome. And then the opposition, there is a decision that needs to be made, and it's usually between two people, right? It's not just up to you. So, like I said before, the eclipses are usually the Cancer rising and Leo rising people are the ones that are mostly affected by eclipses. But for those of us that are not Cancer rising and are not Leo rising, if you have a new moon or solar eclipse in positive aspects to your sun, well, you're going to feel more energetic. You feel like there's your self-esteem may improve. You have maybe areas that you want to grow in. Look in your natal chart where the sun is located, and also look to where Leo is, what house Leo is in. So if you have your sun in Pisces, look to that house. Then you look to wherever Leo is at. And that's the house. Those two houses are the ones that are going to be most affected by the aspect from the eclipse to your sun. If you have a new moon eclipse, that means that again affects your aspects to your sun in a positive way. It might mean that a man may show up, a new man may show up either in a romantic or in a business relationship. Uh, in negative aspects, which is a square, an opposition, it can mean that the men in your life, um, something comes up there. Maybe your father gets sick, maybe your husband, maybe there's a challenge with your boss as well, because the sun also rules, your your supervisor, right? You're like the boss, the authority figure. Let's put it that way. A full moon or solar eclipse in positive aspects, um, it's the completion of a project. It's a completion of a cycle in your life. It could be a divorce, a breakup, a partnership that gets dissolved if it's a business related thing. So a full moon or lunar eclipse with positive aspects, you can be done with a karmic relationship or with a business relationship with a man. Something will be completed, some kind of cycle with a man will be completed. Can also mean for your husband or your father, an ending in some part of their life. For example, maybe your father is retiring, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It's just maybe your husband completes a really nice business deal that, you guys are going to have a lot of money, God willing, right? In negative aspects to your sun, and we're talking about a full moon or lunar eclipse, it might create a problem for a man in your life, either your husband, your father. Maybe for you, you can be forced to, either for you or for them, they can be forced to retire, or um, health might be an issue, or your relationship with your husband or father can be affected in some way. If there is a separation, like I said before, um, on an eclipse, I have yet to see any breakup come back together. So to me, it's a final thing that happens. So since the sun is the natural ruler of the fifth house, issues with your firstborn child may come up. And again, it doesn't have to be anything negative. Like I said, anywhere from starting pre-K to, going off to college, getting married, maybe they buy their first home, etc. All right, so if the eclipses aspect the moon is the mother, the women friends. your aunts, your sisters. The daughter in a woman's chart is Venus. In a man's chart, it's the girlfriend. So it's a little different for men. So the daughter would also be part of the moon, right? If there's a new moon or solar eclipse in positive aspects, you initiate something important, moon related. So again, look to see where the moon is in your chart and also the house where Cancer is. And that's the area that is going to be affected by the eclipse. Um, Maybe it could, you decide to buy a home, you could renovate your home, you can redecorate your home, you buy new furniture, you paint it, you can start a relationship with a woman. If in your natal chart you have Neptune in aspect to your moon, and this eclipse triggers your moon or aspects your moon, then you might have some psychic event happen through a dream, Neptune. Um, so negative aspects to your moon. You can have problems at home. You can have problems with your wife, your mother, the women in your life. You can also, maybe it can stir up some emotional insecurity because remember the moon rules our emotions. If it's a full moon or lunar eclipse in positive aspects, again, this can be an emotional time. You can be more moody. Domestic problems can be resolved though. So that's a good thing of a full moon in aspecting your moon. Um, But when this happens, if it's a full moon, you might be feeling insecure. So be careful that your insecurity, you don't, start overspending, overeating, or whatever it is that you do to comfort yourself. Um, it can also mean, unfortunately, a crisis with your mom, your grandmother, or a woman in your life, your aunt. And again, there could be some kind of ending related to a woman. If the eclipse aspects Mercury, Mercury is the planet of communication, relatives, your siblings, short trips, your transportation, your car, your vehicle. So with a new moon, solar eclipse, and positive aspects, you can start something new, maybe related to something that you want to learn about, some subject. Maybe you take up chess because you have the mental stimulation, right? And chess is all about strategic planning, right? Um, New concepts or ideas can come in. You can buy a new car, take a short trip, get a new cell phone, get a new computer. But remember to leave space, right, between the eclipse and the time that you buy these things, just to make sure that plus or minus 2 weeks from the date of the eclipse. We want to make sure we give it some space. In negative aspects, someone can gossip about you. Maybe you learned something that somebody said that hurts your feelings. In negative aspects, you can also get into an argument. You can disagree with something that someone says. If it's a negative aspect, don't buy a car or a cell phone or a computer. And if at all possible, don't start a trip on a negative aspect when the eclipse aspects your Mercury. Full moon lunar eclipse in positive aspects, you're completing some kind of study. Maybe you're taking, final exams, or you reconnect with your sibling or with your extended family, your cousins. Maybe um, you complete a trip that was with all of your family members, right? In negative aspects, you can be dealing with car repairs, you can quit a job or get fired, you might lose a coworker. Um, you can even break an arm because Mercury rules Gemini and Gemini rules the arms. So when the eclipses trigger aspect Venus, with Venus, think love and money. Those are the two main areas, right? So the new moon solar eclipse in positive aspect, this is one of the most positive indicators that new love is coming your way. Yay. So for those of you that are in a committed relationship, then the passion in the relationship can go to uh, a higher level. Um, with a positive aspect to Venus, you might want to create your environment to be more beautiful, right? You might buy flowers, perfumes, scented candles. Um, you might go to the beauty salon, get a new hairstyle. You want to look good, right? Um, Venus also represents your daughter in a woman's chart, like I've said. So maybe something with her life is happening. Maybe she brings home a new boyfriend that you didn't know about. So, keep in mind what's happening in your daughter's life if you have a daughter. In negative aspects, careful with this one because you might be binging on sweets. The cookies, the cakes, the ice cream, the drinking, spending money on socializing, buying a lot of stuff that can make you look fabulous, but then you have to pay the bills afterwards, right? um, can bring issues and negative aspects. And a new moon solar eclipse can bring issues with a romantic or business partner, but it won't be terrible because it is Venus. Venus is one of the two benefics, right? There's Venus and then there's Jupiter. And even if you have a square to these planets, it's not bad, right? Um, so you can start creative projects. To beautify your home, like I said, or yourself. Full moon lunar eclipse. Some of those creative projects, if you started to remodel your home on the new moon solar eclipse, when the full moon lunar eclipse happens in that sign, then the remodel will be over, right? We're done. Business deals can business deals and romantic relationships can come to completion, right? You can or uh, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to break up because it's a positive aspect to the full moon lunar eclipse, right? Um, Maybe if you've been dating somebody, they propose, or if you already got engaged, then you're going to set the wedding date. So, uh, and for business partnerships, maybe you've been dealing with some people that they're routine partners, right? Routine suppliers, and maybe you want to go into a partnership with them. And this is the time where you guys incorporate, right? The business. So, in negative aspects, though, you can get hurt in a love relationship. Maybe there is some kind of issue that comes up that hurts you deeply. So again, careful with overeating, overspending, the sweets, right? The chocolate, the ice cream, careful with that. If the eclipse aspects Mars, Mars is the planet of action, of initiation, of lovers, of sex. The sex drive is ruled by Mars. Energy, of a lot of things happening at the same time. So people are usually very busy with Mars. So in positive aspects, the eclipse can improve your health, improve your energy, your vitality, right? Um, Careful though because you have all this energy and you want to accomplish so many things, be careful with being too rushed, too impulsive, because accidents can happen because you're in a hurry. So um just be mindful of that. And also, this is another great aspect for a new love interest to come into your life. Venus and Mars are the two romantic planets, more so Venus than Mars, but anyway, you guys get the gist of it. In negative aspects, especially if there's a square, be careful with accidents because you are in a hurry. You usually are more impulsive, and then, things don't turn out well because you want to get so much accomplished that, you can get hurt. In a full moon lunar eclipse, you can have an argument with somebody. You can cut yourself, Mars. Um, if you are going to have surgery and it's not an emergency, it's always good to have it after the full moon because you bleed less. However, if the surgery is an emergency, you got to do what you got to do. So forget about the astrology and follow your doctor's orders, right? But if you do have an option after the full moon, and separate again from the lunar eclipse, is not a good time to be having surgery, during this time. And also, you have so much energy and you want to get so much accomplished. So, try not to be pushy or too assertive with other people because, you might come across the wrong way, right? So, what you could do as a remedy, go exercise, go running, use that energy in a constructive fashion. Or you can, have sex and you can use the energy there as well. Unfortunately, in a full moon lunar eclipse, you could also end a relationship. And like I've said, if it ends on an eclipse, that's it, it's over. When you have an eclipse aspect Jupiter is optimism, it's luck, it's abundance, it's opportunity. Opportunities show up that all of a sudden that you weren't expecting. So on a new moon, or solar eclipse and aspecting Jupiter, maybe one of your wishes can come true. Maybe something happens that you've been really longing for and it comes to fruition. Um, you might initiate a long distance trip to a foreign country you've always wanted to go. Um, Opportunities present themselves. So, this is a time where you feel optimistic, you have positive energy, you feel lucky. It's maybe you decide to start studying something because it's Jupiter, right? You might take up a new course of studies. In negative aspects, be careful you don't spend too much money on that long distance trip, right? Or maybe you had difficulties during the trip. You missed a flight, or, you had a car rental and you got a flat in the middle of nowhere, right? So things like that can happen. Full moon, lunar eclipse and positive aspects with Jupiter. Be careful with eating and drinking and spending too much. Because again, you're feeling, good. You may be graduating from the university, right, with your degree. Maybe um, you have your trip to that faraway country, right, to the long distance travel that you plan comes to a completion, right? So, and if it's a negative aspect, well, maybe that trip didn't turn out as well as you thought, right? Because you spent too much, or maybe the country you visited didn't meet your expectations. You thought it was gonna be much more pleasant, and it wasn't. So when the eclipses aspect Saturn is all about ambition, discipline, structure, limitations, hard work, realistic situations. So, Saturn is always a little bit of a bummer, right? Um, or positive structure, right? Where we got to look at both sides of the equation. New moon solar eclipse with positive aspects, you can start a new job or a new career. You graduated from college and now you get your first job and you start your career. You will be thinking with the eclipses in with Saturn, because Saturn is the natural ruler of the 10th house, about your security or insecurity in general. A new boss might come in, right? The MC, the 10th house. And he or she will be usually an older person. So, new moon solar eclipse and positive aspects is a good thing, right? Everything is related to your career or also the authoritative parent, because it's also the 10th house. Now, full moon lunar eclipse, you're more cautious. You might feel insecure about your job, about your position. Someone old can pass away. Like I said, it's the authoritative parents. So if they're sick, they're very sick, or they're old, very old, then they might pass. Um, in negative aspects, you might feel like you're working too hard and your boss is unappreciative. Um, you just might get fed up with your job situation and resign. Always give notice though. That's always the right thing to do. With So here comes Uranus, right? Uranus is the planet that is unpredictable. So when an eclipse or anything happens with Uranus, what you think was gonna happen doesn't happen, and something out of the blue comes up, right? So this one is hard to predict just because of the nature of this planet. But when you have a new moon solar eclipse in positive aspects, like I said, something sudden, an unexpected change in the house where Uranus is and in the house that it rules, right? So you're going to be looking at Aquarius. Um, it could involve something with technology, astrology, electricity. Like I said, something usually unusual happens. With a negative aspect to Uranus, there could be a sudden illness, a loss of a job, a divorce, um, things that happen are beyond your control. Like I said, look at where Uranus is at and look at the house that it rules. And those are the areas that are going to be affected. So, full moon lunar eclipse and positive aspects. Well, on this one, you want your freedom. You may want to create your own rules and follow the rules at work, for example. You want to do things differently than maybe what your boss expects. You want independence. You want to be on your own. A friendship, because it's a full moon, a friendship might end all of a sudden and you didn't see it coming. With Neptune. So Neptune rules all the good, right? The spiritual realm, the psychic realm, but it also rules criminal activity, things that are hidden, things that are secret. So again, the aspects and where the house where Neptune is and where Pisces is at in your natal chart, those are the areas that this will affect. So new moon solar eclipse, you can have a psychic experience if it's aspecting your Neptune. And like I said, especially just like with the moon, if you have that Neptune moon connection, something psychic can happen through your dreams. But also just an aspect to Neptune itself, it could bring something psychic for you, some experience, something weird happens that you're like, oh my God, this is a deja vu, right? So your magnetism. like you attract people. It can be high for people that work in the creative fields, like artists, musicians, um, anything with the arts. They can create the most beautiful pieces, like really where like, your jaw just drops, either with painting, music, photography. Um, you guys can take the creativity to a whole new level. In negative aspects, you could be discouraged or you could be hopeless about a dream that you had that maybe, you're seeing that it's not going to come true, so you lose your faith in that, right? Um, Careful with somebody trying to deceive you or somebody lying to you, because with Neptune, we don't see things clearly. It's a planet that clouds our judgment. Um, Try to use the energy in a positive way by doing Pisces stuff. Like I keep saying, like take a photography class, a yoga class, meditation, go to the ocean, um, visit a church, um, something that is, like I said, Neptunian. Wow, something happened here that I touched the screen and it all just like um changed. Um, a full moon lunar eclipse aspecting your Neptune. Neptune again rules dreams, so you could be having nightmares, panic attacks. Like I said, a dream that you have can come to an end, and it's you give up on it because you see it's not going to come true, or you can find out that somebody deceived you or lied to you. So finally, Pluto. If you have a lunar eclipse that aspects your Pluto, Pluto is a usually is always a crisis, right? Um, in a positive way, it can give you a lot of determination, a lot of courage to reach a goal, right? You can move mountains, right? Because you just want to get this done. In a negative aspect, you can become obsessed with reaching a goal to the point that you can't let go of it. And that's not good, right? You have to keep a realistic check on the things that you want to do. With an opposition, it involves a power struggle between you and another person. So and lastly, a full moon lunar eclipse, you can lose your power, uh, especially if you have a high position, right, at work. And when Pluto comes, you can be taken down from that position in a heartbeat. I don't care if you've worked with a company for 30 years, they can say, hey, thank you for your service, but you know what? We don't need you anymore. So we're laying you off. We've outsourced your position or something to that effect. With a full moon, lunar eclipse, and aspects to Pluto, you can also like lose control. Your self-control, right? You can have a breakdown. About some crisis that happens. So you need to be careful. Leave your calendar open. Don't schedule so many things during the time if it's going to aspect your Pluto. So anyway, I'm so sorry that this video is a lot longer than what I usually do, but I just wanted to give you as much information as possible. Like always, I appreciate you guys listening to the video. If you found the information useful, give it a thumbs up, please. Subscribe to the channel. If you think someone else can benefit from this information, please forward the link to the video. And as always, thank you for your time and attention. If you would like a natal reading with me, you can send me an email to amaastrology at AOL.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Yes.